Welcome to the next episode of the Supernatural Strength Pod. And guys, we're pumped and we're grateful because already just a few episodes in, we're at 200 downloads, which again is insane growth because again, we're not influencers. We don't have millions of followers. We're just two brothers on the same mission who are aligned and, just step forward with a calling that was dropped into our spirit. And we're seeing what happens when you walk in obedience. And we're grateful for you guys, for all the feedback, for all the support, those who shared the podcast. It's just the beginning, guys. We got a lot of cool things coming. I'm looking into getting some merch for us. So stay tuned for that. We're going to create a private community as well. So we know we throw a lot of information at you guys. So we want to have a resource for you guys. So like you can always revert back to it and find the information that helps serve you and help apply it to your life, because we don't just want to say a bunch of words. We don't want to just throw you a bunch of information. We're not trying to blow up on social media for clout. We're really trying to make an impact. So we want to make sure that we give you all the information that you need and that you're able to apply it. And that's what's most important. We're coming from a place of service here, guys. So stay tuned. We're grateful for the support so far, and it's just the beginning. Now, if you've been following us the last couple of weeks, we touched on Genesis, the 369 code. We talked about the sevenfold ministry. And in each episode, we talked about frequency and sound. And we're going to go a little deeper in that today. And this is going to be a multi-episode series on sound and frequency because it's that important. It's that powerful. It's a great tool, as you'll see when we start diving into the scripture, but also it can be used as a great weapon as well, which it has when you look into a lot of modern entertainment in the music industry. So we're going to really dive deep. We're going to prepare you guys for spiritual warfare so you know how to protect yourself, protect your spirit from these forces that are trying to get on you. So I'm excited. Cory, brother, I done took the mic for the last 2 minutes. How you feeling, my man?
I'm doing good, bro. You're all good. It's all good. No problem at all. We are gonna touch on sound mainly today. I may branch out, but we're just gonna be led by the Spirit, man, and led into this conversation. And whatever comes about, comes about. For everybody listening, we have to understand that these topics that we speak on, we're talking about infinite topics. Like it's the knowledge that we share with you guys is just revelations that we've uncovered, that we've been blessed with. But nonetheless, these topics are infinite because we're talking about an infinite God. We're talking about an infinite source. The source has no bottom. It has no ceiling. The Bible literally says, I am the one who was, who is, and is to come, right? The first and the last, the Alpha, the Omega. And so how do you wrap your head around an infinite conversation? Well, we're probably covering 0.00001% of whatever it is that we talk about. But nonetheless, it is fun. We thank you guys for engaging. And we're going to go ahead and go right into this sound today. And there's just a couple of notes, Jimmy, that I want people to keep in mind as we go into this conversation. Is number one, our universe was created through sound. I'm just going to go back and look at Genesis 1 real quick. And the verses say, and God said, let there be light. And God said, let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water. And God said, let the water under the sky. And God said, let there be lights. And God said, we know that our universe, our world, what we live in right now is created literally through sound, through vibration, through the frequency of whatever that was. And what's pretty cool about that is that, as we explained in our sevenfold series, your throat area, right? That's the throat energy center. That specific area, that gateway is not necessarily the tongue. It in itself is so important. And we touched on so many different things as far as it being a bridge between the head and the body, as far as what comes out of the throat area, the expression piece. And so we'll revisit that in a second. We're just revisiting these notes again. So our universe was created through sound, okay? Sound is a weapon. Jimmy's going to touch on that quite a bit today as far as some of the notes that he has and what's been revealed to him and brought to light to him. And so many other people that you guys recognize this. There's no doubt about it. And then sound isn't just limited to music, but I think we underestimate what music actually is from a weapon standpoint, from a frequency standpoint. But sound is all over the place. And so before I go any further, Jimmy, is there anything that you want to kind of just circle back around and touch on that people need to know, or do you want to go into some of your topics or whatever, brother? It's up to you.
Yeah, no, I just want to piggyback off something you said, which, we were going over Genesis. And I think people miss that part, right? Where God said, right? And I think people don't realize that sound precedes sight. So, like you said, God said, and then creation and formation happened, but the sound came first. That's how powerful sound and frequency are. So if you just think that, oh well, it's just entertainment. I'm just listening. I just love this beat right here. You got to understand. And I heard a powerful quote yesterday actually, and it was talking about music. And it said when you're listening to music, you're listening to the heart of the person that created that song. And that
Wow.
really
Yeah.
stuck with me. I was like, holy crap, like I never thought
Yeah.
of that before. So we,
Yeah.
you think of it as just notes and cool, bass line or whatever, but like, oh, like what was the energy behind the person that created this? And
And
understanding how the sound impacts us at a vibrational level is very powerful. So this is really, really important stuff here. So definitely make sure that you're taking notes and paying close attention because we want to prepare you guys for the battle because it is real.
and just to kind of go off that as well too, you said something important, right? The energy behind the song that was created. It's the same way with like eating food, cooked food.
Mm,
Like, I'll be honest with you. Everybody's just not making a plate for me. I can't do it. Like,
yeah,
it's like, you gotta, who is this person? We're not
yeah,
talking about, putting something in the food or anything like that. We're talking about, you don't know what this person's been going through that whole day. You don't know what this person's life is like. You don't know, their intentions behind the food. When we're dealing with things that are consumed, whether it's sound, music, food, a drawing or painting, the energy profile, the spiritual profile behind that plate, that dish, that song, that painting, that drawing, that the lyrics behind it, everything matters in regards to the energetic spiritual profile behind that thing you're consuming. And so we had to be mindful about that, just like what Jimmy is saying, and just be aware. I'm not saying, hey, don't eat from this person, don't eat from that person, but it is important to pray over what you eat. It is important
right,
to pray over what you're listening to. It is important to pray over your day. Why? Because your biofield, like we talked about last week, is coming into contact with other things, whether that be a plate of food, a song, or whatever it is. It is spiritual warfare at the deepest level. And I know that we're going to touch on that a little bit today.
absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and it's interesting you bring up the food piece because I remember my daughter's mom used to always say that she used to get mad at me because clients cook, they cook for me. And my clients love me. And so they would cook me different things. She would get mad at me for eating it. And she would say pretty much what you said, like, you don't know the spirit behind them while they're cooking. And I thought it was garbage. I just thought she was, being jealous and like, whatever. Like, you're just mad I'm eating, somebody else's plate. But,
Right.
as I learn about spiritual warfare and I understand how the enemy works, I get what she was getting at. And I understand, how, when you brought it up, what you mean by that. And absolutely. And that's why like you said, it's very important to stay prayed up because it's real out here.
Yeah,
So,
straight up, brother, straight up. And just kind of, from that right there, I'm gonna segue into something as far as resonance warfare. So we'll go right into spiritual warfare. We'll go right into sound warfare. And
do it.
there's a story in the Bible that everybody knows, but nobody really wants to go into the science behind it. So we're gonna go to Joshua 6. And we're going to talk about the walls of Jericho, man, the Battle of Jericho. Okay. So we're going to go to
Yes.
Joshua 6, verses 1 through 27. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to touch on a couple pieces here. And so I'll start at Joshua 6 1, and then I'll piggyback from, I'll just bounce around from there. Okay. So
Okay.
setting the scene, right? Joshua has been called to attack the city of Jericho, a profound ancient city. And so I'll go into it. So here we go. Joshua 6 1. Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the seventh day, march around the city 7 times with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have all the people give a loud shout, then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, every man straight in. Now, we have a problem with reading Bible stories, okay? And maybe I'll use a different term than Bible stories, reading biblical history because it is a history book. We want to mystify and fairy tale everything that happens in the Bible. When in actuality, when you understand physics, when you have a basic knowledge of science, when you start applying, let's just call it modern day science to
Mhm.
the Bible, even though it's ancient science, really, when you start applying these things, it's like, wait a second, there's a storyline here. Okay, so when we read the walls of Jericho or the Jericho story, we have to
Mhm.
go into resonance science. So I'm going to touch on a couple of things right there. Resonance and sound, okay? And what Google says is it's a phenomenon where an object vibrates more strongly at certain frequency. Now, there's tons of research regarding this. You can find videos on YouTube, find research articles online. There's tons of research stuff. But what was happening right there is that God knew, I believe in my heart, God knew the frequency, the resonant frequency of whatever they used to make those walls. And he gave
Mhm.
exact design, designated instructions, all right, on when to blow it, how to blow it, and what will make the walls collapse. Now, was it a miracle? I'm not saying it wasn't a miracle. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we need to demystify some of the things that are in the Bible, man, and understand that there are actual, it's a frequency war. That's why your
Mhm.
body responds to certain things, certain sounds here nowadays. Okay, like we have to understand that the instructions that were given to Joshua, the priest, the Israelite army, were specific instructions to have those walls collapse at the way they did. What do you think about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, and when you explain it that way, it makes a lot of sense. And I never thought it like that before, but yeah, absolutely. When you truly understand, again, just looking at the physics behind it, absolutely. Those who don't, they think it's woo woo or mystic. They are actually. I read this, not read, but I heard this about last year. But they're thinking that in ancient Egypt, that to make the pyramids, that they were able to use sound to make the
Yes.
stones lighter. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So like this, and like again, when you dive deeper into this, you start to connect the dots. It all starts to make sense, and it's really more concrete than we once realized. So yeah, man, like you you got my mind like, oh wow, like I never looked at it
Yeah.
that way before, but absolutely. So man,
And I'm
appreciate
gonna,
you breaking that down.
no doubt, brother. I'm gonna add on to it just a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to verse 16. So I'm gonna read from Joshua 6, verse 15, and
Uh-huh.
it says, on the seventh day, they got up at daybreak. I want you guys to remember that daybreak. They got up at daybreak and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner, except that on that day, they circled the city 7 times. Okay. The seventh time around, 7 times around, when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the city and all that is in it to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who were in her house shall be spared. And if you know the story of this, she hid spies for Israel and whatnot. But I'll keep reading because she hid the spies we sent, as it says. But keep away from the devoted things so that you will not bring about your own destruction by taking any of them. Okay, so it goes deeper into the story. But I want to go back to where it says daybreak. All right. Now we know, and we see videos on Instagram and social media about this all the time, that there is a specific time of the day when the veil is a lot thinner than normal. And those hours typically are, some people say 2 to 6, some people say 3 to 5, but nonetheless, daybreak typically happens around this time. So not
Uh-huh.
only were they given instructions when to march, okay, around, or how many times to march around the city, what to blow, okay, but the sound in combination with the veil thinning at daybreak allowed a resonant frequency to be heightened and amplified to destroy the walls of Jericho. Now, I can't say this is guaranteed, proven or anything like that, right? But I'm just making correlations between how we understand science and how we understand the rules and regulations that God has put in place, the Most High God has put in place within our third dimensional realm, right, within the earth.
Uh-huh.
And we have to keep in mind, like he has to play by his own rules. And you could even say maybe those physics are his rules. Like we're uncovering his rules, spiritual rules, day by day, night by night. And we see an example right there of the timing of the day being used, right? When the veil is thin
Uh-huh.
between the spiritual world and the natural world, and sound, which transcends beyond time and space because he used sound to create the universe, man. So there's a lot of science involved in this story. And I think a lot of people just overlook what actually happened the day that the wall fell at Jericho.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah. It's again, when you read the scripture, you start putting these things together, it's not random. It's
Yeah.
actually very, very precise. And that's the beautiful thing about it is the precision, and it just really validates what we're talking about. And once you understand that this isn't far fetched or, so mystical, that is actually spiritual laws that we have access to that are right here in our three-dimensional world. We could call it physics, we could call it whatever we want to, but it's right here for us, and we're seeing it. We see examples of it, and as we go deeper and deeper, we connect the dots. You really see just what we're been blessed with right here in our three-dimensional world by God, right there in the scripture, which has the instruction books. It's really the blueprint for life right here in the Bible. And I know me personally, I ran from it for 39 years.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
thankful for God's grace that, I found it when I found it and everything in divine timing. And now we're here. But yeah,
yeah.
it's right there for us guys. And that's a beautiful thing. So yeah,
And
bro.
yeah, man, and I'm gonna segue to one of the reasons why we lose track of our relationship, and that could be by way of the food, that could be by way of what we watch, right? But one
Mhm.
of the main things is music, is sound, and we're gonna go into this, and we're gonna
Yeah.
we need to be mindful that Satan, Lucifer, and there's some people out there that say this entity is separate, but we're here on this show we're gonna say that it's one just because of how the dragon is described in Revelations and the old serpent and all that
Yeah.
type of stuff. But we have to understand that Lucifer was the angel of music. That was his job in heaven. You know what I mean? Like that's how powerful sound is, and why music in the music industry has such a chokehold on people. Now, I'm going to go all the way back to the Bible as far as what music did to people and put them in a hypnotic state to do wrong. So I'm going to go to Daniel 3.
Daniel 3.
Daniel 3. Yep, Daniel 3. And speaking of, the veil is thin and stuff like that, Daniel prayed 3 times a day. And if you look at the times that he prayed, or the time of day that he prayed, again,
Mhm.
working around sun coming up, the start of the day, middle of the day, and then the end of the day, right? And we have to understand, people, there is not 24 hours in a day. You have 12 hours in the day, 12 hours at night. You got to go back to Genesis to understand that. The moon was put in place to govern the night. The sun was put in place to govern the day. You are dealing with two separate things. So I made a
Mhm.
I made a story not so long ago, and I caught myself saying 24/7. I was like, wait a second, no. I got to write 12/12/7 because there's 7 days in a week, 12 hours in a day, 12 hours at night.
I love it.
Yeah, man. But nonetheless, so Daniel 3 verses 5 through 7. And Jim, if you don't mind reading that for me.
Got it. Let me pull up. I got Daniel 3, 5 through 6. Let me get Daniel 3, 5 through 7. I kept typing in 5 through 6. All right, I got it now pulled up. So, guys, Daniel 3, verses 5 through 7. I'm reading for the New Living Translation. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, bow to the ground to worship King Nebuchadnezzar.
Ezra? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar. There we go.
Yep. You're good.
Love it. Tongue twister. Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Anyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. So, at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race, nation, or language, bowed to the ground and worshiped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
Yes. Now, looking at that, okay, with King Nebuchadnezzar, we know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being thrown into the fiery furnace, and a lot of different things going on there. But nonetheless, okay, this is interesting. Again, something that we look over. Why was the music so instrumental? No pun intended, but why was it so instrumental in the worshiping of the golden calf? It's almost like a hypnotic frequency. The environment was created. Let's just put it
Yeah.
like that, right? Like we talk about epigenetics, we talk about environments of different cells and environments of different things. The environment was created by way of the instruments chosen. And if you look at the exact instruments chosen, they are very, very key on what this says. So let's look at that. Okay. So it says the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and pipes. So I want people to understand something, that depending on the instrument, and there's usually, I want to say, about 5 to 7 major instrument groups,
Mhm.
and a lot of these that were used right there touch on these instrument groups. I want people to understand that these certain instruments resonate. It's like we're talking about resonance frequency. They resonate with certain aspects of the human body. And I'm just going to go to the harp. All right. A harp is,
Mhm.
is your modern day guitar. Okay. We also have harps now, but you just think about a guitar. We've all heard of the phrase pulling on your heartstrings. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this in a previous episode before. Or David playing the harp and David being a man after God's own heart. Harp and
Yeah.
heart sound very similar. All right. The strings of a guitar, the strings of a harp resonate with your heart energy center. Okay. And people need to understand that you go into certain hypnotic states, you go into certain trances, you go into certain uh, frequency hypnosis when certain
Mhm.
instruments are being played. I don't think if you look at the instruments being played there, I didn't see where it said drums. We're not going into an adrenaline state to worship the calf. They wanted a soothing, calming environment to where you
Mhm.
let go, you release. You have the flute being played there. You have horns being played there. They wanted a worship atmosphere to be created in worshiping the golden calf. And so if you look at secular music,
Mm.
you look at certain things that are popular, there's a reason why they're popular. We have to analyze these instruments, these frequencies as warfare. We have to think about that and have to come to conclusion with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got, put it in context of the times too, that, they didn't have social media to create the propaganda or get, the mind control or get people's emotions worked up like they have now. So how can they do that? How can they get people's, emotionally triggered or just even get control of their emotions? Sound, music, these particular instruments, what do they do? Bring it down, let the guard down, right? What do people do when their guard is down? Comfortable. One of the biggest weapons of the enemy is comfort. You get your
Yeah.
guard down. It feels good. Very easy to persuade somebody then, right? So
Mhm.
again, this is very strategic. And like you said, I didn't think about it as I'm reading the list out loud that they didn't have any percussion instruments.
Yeah.
That wasn't, you get what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah.
right. It was, very, very, soothing and again, it's strategic and it has an impact on the body's emotional state. So like this wasn't accident. These weren't just random instruments. It wasn't just a popular band. No, there was purpose behind it. And again, for reason, get control of their emotions so they can persuade them to do what it is that they wanted them to do. Powerful,
Yeah. Yeah. No
powerful
doubt about it.
stuff.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So I think about that and I think about like, just going out to the club, right? You're just going out
Oh yeah.
dancing or you're going out doing this, you're going out doing that. Or here's an even better example. The grocery store. The grocery store has some of the best playlists out there, bro. Why? Because they want to set the mood
Oh
for you to
yeah.
shop and spend more. Music is a conductor. It in itself is a manipulator, if you will. And so we have to be mindful. Is like, okay, what with music? What is the messaging behind it? What is the environment is creating? What is the feeling that I'm getting when I hear the music? Because there's certain
Mm,
things, there's certain triggers that you're going to have, right? We talked about fascia last week. We talked about trauma. We talked about things being stored inside of our body. And it's like, okay, if I was listening, if I was involved in doing something that was pleasurable to my flesh, and there was a song that was correlated to that pleasure, the next time I hear that song, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to feel that I need to act in that pleasure again. It's
yeah.
hypnosis. And I'll tell you a quick story, right? When I was man, I went to Houston, man, and I had brought a bunch of stuff with me on the plane, illegal stuff, if you will, right? I'm like, I was selling stuff in Houston. It was All Star Weekend. I never forget this, and sold something in the club. All right, let's just call it pharmaceuticals, people. And the guy was like, you know what? I'm not gonna buy this unless you do your own product. I'm like, oh no, man, I don't do my own product, this and that, and whatnot. And I ended up doing it, man. And I'll never forget the song that was played when it hit me. This
Mhm.
is when Meek Mill was popping back in like 2012. All right. And I want to say it was a song he has with Drake. It's like, there's a lot of bad in the
Oh
building,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when I say I felt that song in my bones, I felt it in my bones, my soul, and everything else. And to this day, now as the Lord removes secular music from me, as He removes these triggers from my body, but for a long time, when I would hear that song, automatically I would be back in Houston in my mind, back in Houston in the club, jamming to the first time I tried this product, man. And it was just like it's bondage. It's spiritual bondage
Yeah.
over time. We talk about trauma being trapped in the body. Music can be trapped in the body. That's how powerful it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll I piggyback off your story with the pharmaceutical, but I'll flip it real quick. So on the flip side to that, Tim Grover, those who don't know, Tim Grover was the trainer of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, bunch of NBA Hall of Fame players, and he's a motivational speaker now. But what he said was when he would have athletes that were coming in who were having a bad workout for whatever reason, maybe they're stressed, whatever, they're just off. He said that what he would do is play songs from their childhood, not
Wow.
high school, from childhood, and that would
Wow.
instantly boost their performance. And I didn't quite understand it at the time because I read that in this book several years ago. It came out like 2016 or something like that. So it's been a while. But now, knowing what I know now about trauma, about the nervous system, inner child work, frequency, and all that, like it makes perfect sense because, like you just said, it's in the body, and a lot of, and if you have like a song that you really liked when you were a kid during the time where you were, you were free, use your imagination, you played, very joyful, it can bring you back to that state.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
instead of trying to practice and push through all the stress that they were currently dealing with, whatever it is that pro athletes deal with, which both the average person will never understand, um, but it takes them out of that state and brings them back to a more relaxed, more playful time, so they're able to boost their performance because now they brought that part of their body up. So which is powerful. Again, it's a powerful tool, and it anchors in the body. And if it makes you feel something, it's anchored in even more. So whether it's pleasure or pain, like the body doesn't forget. So yeah, like I can see exactly what you say. When you hear that song,
Right.
it brings you back to that state in Houston,
Right.
right? It reminds you of a different time, a different Cory.
Yeah, different. Yeah, a whole different Cory, a whole different name. but he's a dangerous guy. But what's crazy when you say that about the childhood thing is like you think about the most dominant record label ever was, and people want to may say Universal, Death Row, Murder Inc.,
Mhm.
Rockefeller. You know what the most dominant music label, bro? Disney.
Disney.
Disney songs. Everybody has like their Disney song. I don't care how old you are, even me as a grown man, okay? You let me be somewhere and I hear a whole new world off of Aladdin or something like that,
Me
I
too.
might get emotional. I mean, I could be in the grocery
That's
store,
my
I could be
jam.
driving, bro. It doesn't matter. There is something about Disney, man.
A Whole New World by and Eye to Eye from the Goofy movie. That was in my Spotify top 5 rap at the end of the year. It was like number 2. So yeah, man, Disney right with you. So that is funny. Pause.
Crazy.
All right, there you are. You froze on me for like 30 seconds. Can you hear me? There he is. So yeah, Disney, like a lot of people don't think of Disney as a music company. They think of it as the movies, Disneyland, and all that fun stuff. But them Disney soundtracks used to hit back in the day. And again, if you understand how powerful sound and music are, you'll understand why Disney's production hit so hard on the music piece. At least back then it did. But now let's talk about modern music. And we talk about spiritual warfare, and you I'm from Chicago. I seen the rise of drill rap. And whether you like it or dislike it, that's not what's important right now. There's no doubt that when drill rap came out, you saw a significant increase in the shootings, especially at parties and public places. And I remember listening on the radio. This was years ago. This was like 2013, 2014, maybe. And I remember them saying, I forgot which artist it was. Maybe it was Chief Keef. I forgot which artist it was specifically, that there was 7 separate shootings in one weekend when a Chief Keef song was played. I believe it was Chief Keef. I could be wrong, but it was one of the drill rappers, and Chief Keef was bigger at that time, so I believe it was him. But anyways, regardless, 7 in one weekend by one artist when his song was played. Come on now, you talk about hypnotic, you talk about mind control. Well,
Yeah.
why is that? If you think about it, like, why is that? Because it's beyond just music.
Right.
It's beyond just like feel good entertainment. Like, no, this is really mind control. And just if you understand how the brain works, right? You listen to music, you make it entertaining, you're dancing, you're moving. Well, guess what? Like we said earlier, your guard is down. And then you understand the power of words. What are they saying in those words? In drill rap, they ain't talking about hug your brother.
No, no, not at all.
That ain't the message right there. They talk about the ops, and they
Right.
talk about emptying the clip and all that. Well, you're dancing like so to your subconscious mind. You're programming yourself, especially in these youngers. These YNs as they call them online now. They're 16, 17 years old, listeners jumping around. They're literally hypnotizing themselves. They're hearing words about murdering their ops, shooting up the club, and all of that, while dancing, laughing, jumping up and down. Well, guess what? Now this message has become like this is the fun thing to do. That emptying the clip is now entertainment. It's crazy. So they don't even see it as wrong. They think it's like the cool, fun thing to do. Because
And
if you think about it logically, like bro, you about to throw your whole life in jail. You about to spend the rest of your life in jail because you want to show out in front of some girls and empty a clip because some dude stepped on your Jordans. Like, really, like logically makes zero sense. But when in that moment, it's the cool thing to do. Right afterwards, they probably talk to their boys and brag like, man, I done empty, I aired that, MF out. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. But it's a different tune when CPD hit them with the
yeah,
cuffs and now they're, they about to spend the next, 25 to life behind bars.
yeah,
But again, it's it's a real thing.
yeah.
And I heard I think it was Bone Thugs and Harmony, I want to say. I believe it was Bone Thugs already Harmony, but essentially released like an interview or some conversation with a record exec. And the whole plot behind gangster rap was to make gang culture seem like the cool thing to do to essentially control the minds of young, impressionable urban boys so that they can be, get involved with crime, get into the prison system,
Mm.
right? Which is big business. If you look up the prison industry, that is big business. There's billionaires with a lot of money invested in prisons,
Yeah,
right? And how do you do it? You can start the war on drugs in the 80s, you throw the dads in jail, you create entertainment that glorifies prison and gang culture to young impressionable minds who are growing up in poverty. So they see the quick money, they see the clout. This is the fun thing to do, right? And you create this vicious cycle. And then you see the crime that you get now. And music is a big part of that. Think about if they didn't have the music, right? I
it's
think they got video games, like GTA and stuff like that. But think about like because poverty's always been around, and Chicago is. My dad would tell me stories, but it wasn't like it is now, right?
right.
Music amplified
Yes,
things significantly, and you would be blind to think that it didn't, or that it's just entertainment, or it's just like not that big a deal. It really is. I think it's
yeah,
not amplified enough, this message, to be honest with
right.
you.
And there's one thing that's hitting my spirit that goes along with what you're saying. So you use the term mind control, and I'm just gonna attach another phrase to that: spirit control. We have to think that
Yes.
music and sound, every instrument, may be the only way to. If you look at the sevenfold, and you look at the gateways that we talked about the past two episodes, bro, music might be the only thing that can really touch every single gateway in the body. You talk about drill rap and percussion instruments. That goes straight down to your root energy center, right? Spirit of desire, okay, which is gateway of the eyes, right? We talk about wind instruments of the harp. You talk about wind. I believe they're wind instruments, right? Automatically, that's lungs. Like there's so
Mhm.
much that goes on. Even good music, right? Like classical music. Majority of classical music is tuned to 432 hertz. It's great for your brain.
Mhm.
It's great for a calming effect. It's great for a flow, like a flow state of mind. So there's spiritual correlation attached to music, attached to sound, and a lot of people don't understand how important and how foundational that is. Every city has their genre of music. Out here on the West Coast, we have a certain sound. You go down to Houston, it's a certain sound. You go to Atlanta, it's a certain sound. Chicago,
Mhm.
a certain sound. And what's crazy is there's always something else attached to the sound. Like you look at the West Coast, and what album put the West Coast on? The Chronic. We got you go to California, you think about weed. You go to Houston, you think about lean.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
there's something attached to every bit of the music in these cities and these locations, and so there's a web of spiritual realm all tied to one thing, and it's all tied to music, it's all tied to sound, and that may not be the hub of it all, because the spiritual aspect is the hub, but music is a huge foundational layer. It's like if you can think of a foundation of a house, it's the next thing you put down after the foundation. Like that's what's going on there. Or you can look at it as it's the foundation of the house that holds the spirit. I think that's a really great way of looking at it. Actually, we can honestly say,
Yeah.
people, now that my thoughts are correct, we can honestly say that music is the foundation of the house or temple that holds the spirit. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I love the way you put that. If I were you guys, listen, I'd pause, rewind, and let's do that again because that's a great way to look at it. Absolutely. And guys, think about it. Again, let's look at the other perspective of it. Think when you're at a party, right? And energy's low, nobody's really like socializing. And what changes the mood in a positive way? When the DJ finds that one song that hits everybody's spirit. I used to do security, so I know, and I remember quite a few times where, like, it's not a lot of people on the dance floor and it's not a whole lot of action going, and then the DJ would play. And a lot of times it's happened more than once with this one particular song, Thuggish Ruggish Bone by Bone Thugs and Harmony, for whatever
Yep.
reason,
Yep.
would be the one, but they find that one track and then people would get up, the girls would run back to the dance floor, and the whole energy shifts. And that's the art of being a DJ, is knowing how to get the energy flowing and people excited and keep things pumping. It's by playing the right music with the right tempo and the right value. Like, all of that matters. Why? Because it influences behavior. It influences the spirit. So
Yes.
again, this is so powerful. And as I'm talking out loud, I'm just like, wow, like it's even more than I realized. And I was already mindful of what I listened to, and it's even more now. Like, holy crap,
Yeah.
this is cool. And we're not saying this, guys, because we want you to be afraid. Let's touch on that real quick before we go deeper. It's not about being afraid. We're not trying to invoke fear, because that's not of God, anyways.
No. No.
We want to make you aware
Mhm.
of the power that's out there so that you
Yes.
can move accordingly. That's why we call it supernatural strength,
Mhm.
right? We want you to be as strong as possible. We want you ready to go
Right.
out and thrive
Mhm.
in this world. But you have to be aware of what's going on. Because if
Right.
you're not aware, well, then it's like I'm about to play, NFL game, and I didn't even watch any film. I didn't study the play, but I just went out there. Like, all right, that ain't gonna go too well for me. You want
Yep.
to be prepared out here, and that's what's most important. So we're preparing you by making you aware of different things. So it's not about fear, guys. It's about strength, knowledge, awareness.
Yeah, and just
And
just
Corey,
as how just as how sound and music can be used negatively, I mean, is it exists, right? So like these items, we talk about this a lot of the times, like things that can be used in a good way or a bad way. If it's real, then it could definitely it was created for good, but it was the
yeah,
manipulation of the enemy that it was used for evil, right? So I just want to look at real quick and think of when the disturbing spirit came upon Saul, right? When
yes,
the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul because he had disobeyed, he didn't kill and get rid of everything that he was supposed to do. And what did the Lord do? He sent David to go play the harp to calm his spirit,
yes,
to calm what was afflicting him. And so you look at what both me and Jimmy have done over the past few years, being very heavily involved in frequencies, being very heavily involved in sound therapy, even to the point to now we're using it for athletic performance. Like, it could be used for good, and it was made for good. It was created
oh,
for good.
absolutely,
So we have to be mindful of that and understand it. Like, yes, just like you're saying, it's not to live in fear, or I can't listen to this or I can't listen to that. What we're trying to do is awaken people so you can become more aware of what you're actually listening to. Because what happens is, and it is by it's by design to put you in a hypnotic state to where you become unaware of what's being stored in your body. It's just like if you were to say, or it's just like how they did in the Old Testament, and monks have done for numerous years, and chanting, or reading scripture with sound, doing it in a kind of a musical type of way. There's a reason for that. You're creating a harmony, and everything that we see, everything that exists, is by way of harmony. So we have to ask the question: what music, what frequency, what tune am I downloading into my body so that my body is in harmony to perform on the daily, as a husband, as a wife, as a coach, as an athlete, as a whatever that may be. We have to look at it from a harmonic standpoint. What am I listening to? What am I watching? What am I eating that is putting me in harmony with the highest version of myself? And that being my light body, the body that was sent here and formed, not created. Well, it was created first, then formed. But how do I put everything into harmony so that I'm operating out of my light body, my energetic body, my spirit body, more than I'm operating out of my flesh? That was Paul's message, basically.
there you go, there you go, and yeah, absolutely. So we can use this sound in so many different ways, and as you were talking, I thought about another way to use sound, and we'll go deeper on all these things in other episodes. But from a physical healing standpoint, there's this machine called the stem wave. And Corey, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, being a strength coach, but it's one of the most effective machines I've ever used for any sort of muscle trauma, inflammation. And what it is, think of like an ultrasound wand, right? So it has this wand hooked to this machine, and you hear like this, it sounds like a chisel. So you literally hear like click, 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 click. And you rub the wand over the injured area. Now, if there's no trauma in that where the wand is at, you won't feel anything. You'll just hear the sound. but there's any sort of like injury, trauma, inflammation, it'll feel like somebody's hammering a chisel in that spot. But it's literally just a sound wave. That's all it is. It's a sound wave. But what that sound wave does when it finds that injured area, it gets the body to release natural stem cells in that area to promote healing. By far, one of the most effective treatment methods I've ever used. When I tore my right pec bench press a few years ago, I shared that in a story here recently, or one of the episodes recently. I opted not to have surgery because again, my life was just a mess already at that time. So I didn't even want to think surgery. But I got on that machine, and literally after the first session on that machine, I was able to do push-ups with a torn pec. That's how effective it was. So I'm telling you, like the sound thing it's so cool when we're talking about it. So we're not just talking about spirit, we're not just talking about emotions, but we're also talking about physical. Again, that's what we talk about. We don't separate the three on this show. We talk about the spirit body, the mind body, and the physical body, and the sound is such a powerful tool to even help with that as well. So, man, it's so dope.
And another thing too, bro, is like, okay, you look at the history of the world, and one of the questions that's asked a lot is, where did all the bells go? Our whole earth used to be
Mm,
covered in bells, okay? And I don't have the research in front of me, but there's research and just, talk of what bells do in the spiritual realm, okay? And so a lot of people say that, well, during World War II, Germany took all the bells across the face of Europe to use it for
mhm,
weaponry and whatnot. I don't want to believe that, only because, for one, Hitler was very much into the spiritual realm. He was very much into occultism. They even had some kind of
mm,
big, like, there's like some kind of special bell that they had that was like trying to cause something to come through or whatever, right? Like an old school
mhm,
siren, I guess. But we have to ask the question, where did all the bells go? And, it's just a normal thing all across the land, like the bells would be rung. Well, if bells are a spiritual warfare weapon, then the enemy wants to eliminate the weaponry, right? It's very simple, people, but we don't look into the simplicity that is around us. That's actually very complex. There's a reason why. What I have right here in front of me is a 528 frequency tuner. Okay, so it's a tuning fork, and so people see these on the internet quite a bit and whatnot. You actually see these in athletic training a lot. So very similar to what Jimmy was saying, as far as that machine finding the point and sending a signal through the body. What athletic training does is they'll hit this thing and put it on the injured point, seeking a certain tune or a certain sound from the tuner, from the tuning fork. So this tuning fork right here that I have is tuned to 528 hertz. I've actually used this to change energetic fields of athletes. So what I'll do is I'll hit it, and it may not sound good on the speaker, but I'll hit it anyway. So I'm not sure if you guys heard that or not, but I'll try it again. And so what I'll do is basically just wave this bad boy around the body and attempt to change the tuning field of, or the biofield of that athlete. Why? Because sound is spiritual warfare. We have athletes that come in for recovery sessions. No, we're not going to listen to R&B because I don't want to get you in an impulsive state to where you
yeah,
feel like you need to go do something else. We're going to listen to 432. We're going to listen to 528. We're going to listen to specific frequencies that put you in a calm state, a soothing state that tells the body to return to its natural order. Remember, we look at, at this sound therapy and sound application is not so much like something from a steroidal standpoint. It's not steroids. What it's doing is returning you to your natural original form before the darkness entered, before the negative energy entered, before the sin entered. That's the
mhm,
objective of natural healing processes. It's not about putting a band-aid on something. We want to
right.
return to the original form, the purest form, the perfect form in which we were created in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that dropped in for me when I, really started to study scripture again, and God said, "In the beginning there was the Word." When I first read that, what dropped in for me, and maybe my assessment of this could be off, Cory. You can correct me here,
Well,
but I'm like, okay, if in the beginning was Word, the Word. Well, there was no written language back then. So what was it? It had to be frequency,
right.
vibration.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's why this is so powerful, because beyond what our tongue can say, through English, Spanish, whatever language that we speak, is the deeper the frequency we can tap into is sound. Is sound, vibration, tongues that our physical mind just can't even come up with the linguistics to say.
Right.
We can tap into a much higher level from what was in the beginning, which
Yes.
was the word.
The
At
word.
least that was my drop in. You can correct me if I'm way out there with that.
Well, no, brother, but that's something that I'm still studying, right? Like, the Bible teaches that it's capitalized, and so automatically you think of you think of Jesus. But even we'll do a podcast on the role of Jesus, Yahusha. Like we'll do a actual podcast on that, because a lot of people have the only way to the Father through me thing wrong. They have, I mean, there's we go into portals, we're going to frequency, we're going to all that. But what you're saying is correct, brother, because the word is living, right? Like the Bible in itself overlaps. Why does Genesis look so much like John and Revelation? Why does this book look like that book? Why is there a connection here? Why
Yeah.
is there a connection there? So we're talking about something that is living, and the Bible says that this is the living word, right? And Jesus being the living word. The word was there from the beginning. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. That's what the word says, right? And so we'll deep dive into that. But speaking of frequency, like you just said, and just looking at the human body, your throat is literally a frequency generator. Okay,
Mhm.
right there in Genesis 1, not going too far from what you're talking about, but in revisiting what I said earlier, as far as and God said, okay. Now we don't know what that looks like, all right.
Mhm.
But what we do know is that there is energy, frequency, and vibration there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and God said, let's just say three words, and then we apply energy, frequency, vibration. So, boom, 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 right? You have the energy there, you have the frequency there, and then the vibration. Okay. And so, when we look at that and we look at ourselves, it's like what we say and how we say it has so much meaning and
Mhm.
so much power. The Bible says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. Okay. Now, that's not just talking about voicing, it's talking about what you're eating as well too. Power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
And if the tongue is the gateway to the spirit of Mike, your stomach, then there's a whole lot to uncover there. But let's just keep it basic to what people really understand is that what you say about yourself, how you say it, when you say it, has so much power over your day, over your thoughts, over your mind, over your life. The Bible says that we have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And having a sound mind, a lot of the time, starts with how you talk about yourself, how you speak about yourself, how you represent the spirit of God that's been placed inside of you. Whether you're going right or left, down the middle, whatever the case may be, everything holds power. And when we're speaking about sound, when we're speaking about frequency, your throat is an epicenter of that. Okay. So your throat is a frequency generator. This is why your throat is its own energy center. We talk about that in the sevenfold spirit. This throat area is the bridge between the mind and the body. You could almost say your body follows where your mind goes, but you can't get there unless you got the neck, right? We talk about the relationship between a man and woman. We say a lot of times that the man is the head of the household, but who's the neck? The woman. She got to
Woman.
be able to uphold that man, that head. She got to be able to uphold and turn him when he wants to go left. You got to go right. Like that's a relationship. And so
Yeah.
a biblical relationship is a divine reflection of the relationship between the head and the body. What connects it? The throat, man. There's so much life and power that comes out of that. And the science behind the actual expression or speaking is that your vocal tract amplifies and shapes sound, right? Whether I'm talking loud
Interesting.
like this or whether I'm talking slow like this. That is all within the throat area. Okay. So your vocal tract amplifies and shapes sound. It's the same way with your spirit body as it is with your physical body. How you want to amplify things in your life by way of speaking life into your life, if you will, light into your life, or if you're speaking negative darkness into your life. It's just like here's a phrase that the kids say all the time. Oh, I'm dead. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
That is the most ignorant
I'm
thing.
guilty of that
I
too.
hope all these. I want to make this good because I'm going to make sure I chop this up, put this on my Instagram. All you young people saying I'm dead, I want to slap the crap out of you every time you say that. All right, this is Coach Bell talking right now. Okay, I want to slap the mess out of you because what you're doing is you are cursing yourself. You're not cussing. You're doing even worse. You are cursing yourself every time you say that. So as
Mm.
many times you say I'm dead throughout the day, that is 1 inch in the spiritual realm as you're getting closer to death. I want y'all to understand that how ignorant and how stupid that is. And if you got a problem with it, see me. That's how fired I am fired up I am about this, man. You got to quit saying that. Or what's the other one? Dang, I can't think of it. But it has to do with death. It's one that people been saying for years, not just young people, but people been saying for years. Everything matters. The English language in
Yeah.
itself is already a language of spells. It's already jacked up. You can't even there's the English language has no structure. It's just made up. That's why people are so bamboozled and fooled in life because people use this language of spells on them. But the least we can do is at least speak light and life into our life by way of our conversations, by way of our language, and move on from there, man. But we got to quit doing the stupid stuff.
Facts. Facts. And one phrase I used to hate because I used to get a lot of arguments with women I've dated in the past, but I hated this phrase. I don't hate the strong word, but I'm a changed man, guys. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
Now, people hear me speak on the microphone and I'm speaking on stages now. I wasn't always a dynamic speaker. I actually was very shy. So one of my insecurities was how I spoke because I got picked on for my voice when I was a kid. So for years I spoke very monotone. You couldn't get a read on me. It was very, very dry, very monotone. And what happened when I would get in relationships or, dating a woman that I would say certain things and she would be bothered by it. And she would always say, well, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like the word means the word. Like I just didn't understand tonality,
Yeah.
frequency at the time. Right. But I get it now. And just think about conversations, right? And when you, again, Corey said how people speak about themselves. Well, what's the tone that you're saying it in as well? Right? What's the frequency? Like, are you being light with it, like making a joke? Or like when you say like it's killing me, but you're saying with a lot of emotion, a lot of passion. Well, guess what, guys? Your subconscious mind, you're anchoring that in your spirit, and like say you're cursing yourself
Right.
because it's amplified by your tonality and your energy with what you said, and what not just the word that was said, but the energy and the frequency behind the word amplified that curse, that spell into your spirit.
Yeah.
And so you guys should study tonality as well when you speak. Even this show, right? I just had a conversation with somebody who was triggered by Cory and I's first episode, and I get it. Like, and I was trying to tell her, like, hey, like, what Cory and I, you got to remember, we're very strong men. We, been around the highest level of sports, athletes ourselves, very strong black men. So we speak with an intensity. We speak with a passion that many won't understand. And we're speaking about a topic that will, like, it's already can be triggering as well. So when you factor that in, the message isn't for everybody. We understand that we're not trying to hurt or shame anybody, but like that's how we speak. And I was trying to explain that to this person, and she's like, well, I think it could be, it could be softer and it comes off as kind of toxic. And I'm like, I respect how you're feeling. I said a prayer. I was like, you know what, God bless you on your spiritual journey. I hope, God blesses you, however whatever your heart's desire, right? It was real calm about it with her. But I'm like, you gotta also understand that like we just have a lot of energy. We have a lot of
Yeah.
passion. That's how it comes off. And we're strong men. So that's our tonality. This
Right.
show would not have 200 downloads in the first 3 episodes if we were very dry, if we were very passive, very monotone. People would be out by the second minute of episode one and be like, man, these guys are terrible, right?
Yeah.
But I've got so many people in the Corey. I don't know some of the feedback you've got from your personal circle, but that's what one of the biggest things people have told me, that they
Yeah.
love our energy. They love how we flow off each other. They love our excitement, our
Right.
passion.
Right.
So it's not just what we're saying, because there's a lot of guys who could probably talk about the same topics,
Mhm.
but the way Corey and I deliver it with our frequency, with our energy, the Holy Spirit channeling through us, we pray before every episode. That's why people are locked in with us, and that's why people are excited to listen. My one homie, episode one, he's like, bro, I don't even listen to podcasts. Like, I don't. He's like, I hate listening to something that's like over an hour long. I listened to you and Corey that whole hour, didn't even feel like an hour. He's like, he's like, what you guys got is powerful.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that means a lot, man. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, guys? But that's what we want you to understand. It's just how powerful the sound, the frequency, tonality, all of that is. It's not woo woo. It's not mystical. It's not new age. It's
Mhm.
actually biblical.
Yes. And I'm going to say this, and we talked about power, and I want people to understand something. This is coming from a place of love right now. Like the power that you have, you first have to experience that pain. Just going off of what Jimmy said, as far as we talk about trauma in the body and whatnot. His monotone way of speaking because of the internal pain and the emotional pain that he had by being bullied as a kid, right? With his voice, and it's like his body held on to that until he learned to operate in his power. He was captivated and in bondage by his pain until he learned that his pain and his power. Now he could reach more people because he went through that pain, but he cannot extend his power to other people unless he examines his pain. And so we speak the way that we speak because we've had pain in our life. And if there's any kind of toxic this or that, it's like, and I have no shame in this, Jimmy. I went to jail because I stood up for female athletes more than the school did. There's a whole lot of list of stuff that went on in that situation, but nonetheless, nobody was doing the right thing,
Right.
which led me to certain actions. By the way, Chief Keef is being played that morning that I did that, but I love souls, and nonetheless, anyway. But we have to understand that the pain that you go through, people, okay, it is your power, and how it comes out via your voice, via your actions, via your mannerisms. A person operating in power is a person who has overcome pain in their life. I'm gonna say that one more time. A person operating in power, speaking in power, having their mannerisms in power, way of life that is powerful, has overcome their pain. But you cannot overcome your pain until you examine that pain, until you go in the dark. Right, just like Bane said, he told Batman, he said, the darkness betrays you because the shadows betray you because they belong to me. Guess what, people? You got to go into the shadows sometime. You may not find your voice to bring it back, all back full circle. You may not find your voice till you go in that shadow. You may not find your voice till you go in that darkness. Carl Jung talks about this, the shadow person. You have to confront the ugliness. You have to confront the pain to truly find your power and to truly find your voice. I hope that resonates with everybody.
Oh man, resonates with me. If didn't resonate with anybody else, it resonated with me because absolutely. And a lot, like my biggest breakthroughs, or I found a lot of my gifts was when I went through that pain or went to that shadow, and I didn't run from, or I stopped running from it and ran from it for a lot of years. And I'll just use the speaking one as an example. I shared this story here recently. I just really hit record. That's it. And I remember being so nervous and sweating in the camera, and it looked bad. But like I just hit record and I just did it. And that was the first step I took. And I'll be honest, at first, I didn't even want to re-listen to the video. So I would record it and I would just upload it. I was like, whatever it is, it is. But I got some pretty good feedback. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool. So then I start to like get over that hump to listen to myself. And I'm like, like I'm okay. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. But mind you, like before I hit the re-listen to myself, those inner child feelings were coming up, again, picked on. So it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't like just me listening to myself. It was a real process.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, people have been very supportive. I think I got something here. So I really stretched myself and I signed up for improv comedy class. And I can't remember if I've talked about that on this show before, but I signed up for improv comedy. And my day one, so I'm thinking like I'm gonna get to sit and watch kind of like the flow of the class and see other people go first. Nope. Jimmy, go up there. It's your first day. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, it's get up there. That's the best way to learn is to get in the fire. So like it stretched me. But being willing to do that, being able to go embrace that pain, it was crystal clear just like how I used to get picked on so much. And I grew up in a south, near South Side Chicago, black neighborhood. My mom's white. I used to get called white boy, and they used to say I sound like a little white girl and all sorts of stuff. Like all that pain would, as I'm doing this, like I felt it. I really did.
Yes.
But I'm telling you guys, because I didn't run from it, because I punched that bully in the mouth,
Mhm.
that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That breakthrough, that power. So when you're willing to go to that depth, and it's my coach taught me that I forget how he said it specifically, but the deeper you're willing to go, the higher you can rise.
Wow.
So if you're trying to really ascend, you got big dreams, you got big gifts, you're praying to God for the big blessing. Well, how deep can you get first? How deep can you get that foundation? I believe you referenced the foundation earlier in this episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if you can't get deep, don't expect to go high. It's like trying to build a skyscraper without a foundation. It's gonna collapse. So like I just want to, just share that journey with you guys. Like, yeah, when you're willing to go deep and go into those depths and you're able to look at that and trust what that God's gonna lead you through the fire, you'll be amazed at what gifts, breakthrough, opportunity is on the other side waiting for you.
Yes, sir.
Powerful, powerful, man. So I'm glad you brought that up because that got me to that drop in to share that with the people, man.
Yes,
So
sir. No doubt
that
about it.
stuff fires me up, bro.
Yeah.
It really does. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Yeah. And
All right,
that's all we
guys.
do.
Oh, go for it.
I was just gonna say, and that's all we're doing. You know, we've touched on all the points today and whatnot, and all we're doing now, people, we're using our voice, we're using our pain and our experience to for a greater purpose, and for power. So, but yeah, Jimmy, that's all I got, bro.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I was just gonna say, we've been on for an hour. Obviously, Corey and I, we could talk about this 3, 4, 5. We could make a whole workshop in the future. We will host those, but right now we don't want to throw too much at you guys. So we will start to wrap up. And again, we're going to go deeper on this because there's a lot of depth to these different points we talked about. But we want to give you a good overview and make you aware of the power of sound. So that makes you excited to dive deep into these next few episodes we got for you. But of course, Corey, I never want them to leave without something that they can apply. So let me ask you, what do you have for our listeners? Do you think that they can implement sound? I know you touched a little bit last week with frequency, but what's something that they can do that they can apply sound to either help their day or maybe on the flip side, maybe protect their spirit? What's
Yeah,
what you got in mind? I have an
yeah.
idea, but I'm curious what you got for them.
No, I'm going to go with the latter of what you said there as far as protecting your spirit. I would say and a lot of people don't do this, right? People are so in a trance as far as what they listen to and everything. I would tell people this week, as you're listening to certain, whatever music that is, whether that's worship music, whether it's secular music, whether that's just the sound of your ringtone, what emotions are brought up in the body when you hear this? Okay.
Okay.
Even your alarm, even your ringtone, I'm talking about stuff like that. Like, if you hear your alarm and it's not the time that you're supposed to wake up, like most people have a kind of a heart feeling like, oh, I got to do something. Like that's how triggered you are. We could all go all the way back to the Pavlov's dogs experiment, and how they started salivating when they heard the bell over time. What does certain sounds and music do to your body? Be more present, be more mindful. Try to, if you want to sit there and just like listen to a song, whatever that may be, where do you feel that at in the body? A song that has a lot of drums, do you feel that in your lower centers? A song that has is very guitar heavy, do you feel that around your chest area? Just be mindful this week as far as what songs bring about certain spirits, and then the sounds that bring about certain reactions in your body.
I love that. I love that. And that's actually something that I do in my mindset coaching is we do body scans. Where do you feel this in your body? That's gonna be really important. So yes, I challenge you all to do what Corey said when you listen to your playlist or, whatever, if you're in a car or something, just be mindful of the strong sensations that come up. Maybe one gets you like really amped up, or maybe one you kind of feel contracted. It makes you feel tense for some reason. There's something there, right? And we'll dive deeper on what the whole process looks like, so we can really bulletproof you. But yeah, dude, I love that. I love that, bro. So pay attention to how it impacts your body, and I'll take it one step further. Pay attention to your mood too,
Wow.
your
Yes.
body, and your
Yes.
mood. And if you got to, pull out your iPhone and the notes app, or keep a pocketbook with you and journal it. You'll be amazed when you reflect back on the impact that this has on you. And I'll share a quick story on that, and I'll let you guys go. But it wasn't sound specifically, but I had that revelation when it came to watching TV. And I remember listening. He was one of my favorite speakers at the time. His name's Darren Hardy. He's the CEO of Success Magazine. And I heard this speech early in my personal development journey. But he said that your subconscious mind just holds whatever you feed it, whether it's positive, negative. Think of it as like an empty cup. You can fill it with whatever, the mind's going to hold it. And he went on to talk about the impact of TV. And really specifically, he was talking about mass media and news being very negative. And I remember my dad, very, very religious man, devout Christian. He used to get on me because I used to watch a lot of murder shows, First 48, Law and Order, loved me some Law and Order, SVU. Like I would binge watch this stuff. And my dad told me, he's like, you probably shouldn't watch this as much as you do because it'll impact how you see the world. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's just entertainment. Well, after listening to Darren Hardy, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give up TV for 3 days. I said, 3 days. I could do this. I'm gonna just do something else, keep myself busy. I kid you not. By day two, I'm like, I'm never watching TV like that again. I felt so much better. I promise you, bro.
Yeah.
Like that stuff I was watching was weighing on me, and I didn't realize it to the extent that it was. And when I gave that up and I started just reading books or journaling or just taking quiet walks in nature, like I felt a lot better. And I have a couple shows I watch here and there, but I'm not one to binge on Netflix. I'm not one to binge on, TV. I'm the worst person to ask about entertainment because I'm like, I don't know.
Right, straight up.
but but I said that to say like that's how important this stuff is, and like sometimes you don't really know until you fast from it the
Mhm.
impact that it was having on you. That's why I
Yep,
want to share that story. So I
important.
think that was powerful, Cory. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
man.
like I said, guys, we're gonna go deeper on this. Thank you for rocking with us on another episode. Big things are coming. If you felt something this episode, please share it with your people. It's literally just a click of a button. You click the button, you can share it on your Instagram, share it on your Facebook, send it to your contacts in your text thread. Somebody needs to hear this message. And our growth is gonna be, it's really, you all are going to help us grow. It's a community effort, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. Cory and I can't get this message out by ourselves, so we do need your help. So if you resonate with it, if you're rocking with us, if you are part of this movement with us, we're very grateful. And share with your people because somebody needs to hear this message. And yeah, until next time, guys, we are checking out.
Peace.